Hi, Andreas. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us today to talk about what Telstra's got going on. Obviously, we would probably be meeting at NAB in Las Vegas in a couple weeks, but we're not. So I wanted to give you a chance to kind of talk to the SVG community. So I guess first thing is, for people who may not be familiar with Telstra, a little bit of an overview, the elevator pitch, if you will.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken. Good to be here on video. Yeah, so Telstra sort of has set up a business they call Telstra Broadcast Services. That's the business I run, and we're basically the global arm of the telco Telstra, and that sell into the global media and broadcast market. So our customers is sort of the big sporting bodies around the world. Obviously, we have a significant presence in the Australian market as well. So that's kind of Telstra Broadcast Services.
Great. So obviously, it's been an evolving marketplace. I mean, I think the at-home thing, we've seen more of that in the remote production. What are you seeing as far as the demand for your pipes and how people are looking for new types of services out of you?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because you're right. Certainly we see that remote production, we've obviously been quite, early on in adopting and working in remote production in the Australian market. And then we have taken that sort of international remote production use case. So certainly we see, that continue, the trend around remote production, for the big major events sort of now being postponed and so forth, but obviously, happening in the future. So that's clearly one trend. The other trend we see is a much more complex need from the broadcast and the live sports community in terms of combining different services. So, combining remote production and more on the contribution side, but then they want to have help. Well, I want to then distribute that to my rights holding broadcaster. How do I do that in a most cost efficient way?
Right.
Can you sort of stitch me up a combination of these solutions? And by the way, maybe I want to use a bit, even though we're fiber provider, we have assets and capabilities in the satellite areas. Can I combine with some satellite as well? So really stitching up different kind of solutions or bits of a solution into one holistic one with a full-on sort of managed services wraparound. So that's a kind of a trend we see, more complex needs driving more complex hybrid solutions.
Right, yeah. So as far as those, as far as the growth of those hybrid platforms, because people always kind of look at, when you look in the outside, you're like, oh, it's all satellite, all fiber, but you're seeing a bit of everything still, a mix.
Yeah, because if you think about the evolution, like you have sort of even if you look at sort of the fiber and IP side of things, that's different kind of things. Like you have remote production, high bandwidth, and all in these kind of solutions. But then you have certain things when you want to distribute maybe to a more cost-efficient solution to the rights holding broadcast, and when maybe the budget is not there to spend a lot of money to build a big pipe, so to speak. So then that's all still in the IP world, if you think about it. And then, if you then combine it with satellite, then, it becomes sort of this more sort of hybrid, complex hybrid solution that sort of you need to be there to solve for the whole problem. So I think it's certainly sort of the trend we see.
Right. So do you see as far as I know that the host models are changing a lot as far as the host broadcasts are getting bigger.
Yeah.
They're doing more personalization. They're trying to create more types of opportunities to deliver more personalized content in different areas of the world. I mean, are you seeing in general are the size of the pipes that people are requesting getting bigger, I guess, in terms of bandwidth?
They are absolutely, no, for sure. I think, I mean, obviously with some of the upcoming events here, that sort of, we see that certainly people are buying more capacity, so they typically then buy more capacity for, I guess, the contributions to bring it from sort of venue into kind of the production facility, whatever that may, in-house or outsourced. And then, but then the onwards distribution, as you say, is then the other things. Can they bring all the content in, or as much more content in from a contribution point of view? But then when distributing that to the rights holding broadcasters, all that different means, historically maybe it's been, word feed, there've been some, unilateral things that have been bought, but that's now becoming much more complex in a way. And the catalog, if you like, from then, as you say, onboard selling of the rights is getting broader and more complex. And as you say, if you think about an online experience, obviously you want to have access to much more content. You want to see all the tennis court feeds, not just a selective few. You want everything,
right.
So you as a viewer can tailor it. So obviously that drives demand on our pipe. We also drive demands on these sort of more complex solutions, because again, as they take this broader responsibility. On the other hand, they're not necessarily experts on running complex media delivery networks, and that's obviously where companies like us we come in. You know, we can help with that. We have the experience and so forth, because at the end of the day, the customer wants one kind of experience and a holistic experience, not themselves need to manage all these different sort of delivery mechanisms. So that's why we sort of see this upcoming demand around this kind of hybrid options.
Sure. Yeah, I think that, it's interesting because I think the challenge always is people look at a Telstra as, basically a pipe and a transmission, pipeline. And they
Correct.
don't, they kind of equate you with moving just bits over fiber and not really understanding how you really offer more in terms of really kind of helping them understand how to get the most out of those services rather than simply saying, this is just a pipe and use it. You kind of really want to bring in a whole level of understanding. Can you talk about, just briefly for a final question, as far as your team itself, as far as that expertise and kind of, how it changes, there's their skill set, and what do you see some of those benefits versus just selling a straight up pipe?
Yeah, I think, if you look at how we set up, so we're obviously a telco, but we have then created this Telstra Broadcast Services. I used to say it's sort of on top of the telco in a way. So our job as TBS, being the lead and the end-to-end owner in our business for selling and delivering these sort of complex media delivery solutions, obviously to get the best out of all these capabilities and pipe that the telco has, as you say, but then looking at it from a lens of a broadcaster or a media company, and then sort of tailoring the solutions to their needs, leveraging again all assets we have, but also working with partners. I think we all know no one can do it on their own, so you need to work with partners. And again, that drives complexity. So I think that's really, having this sort of bespoke and customized solution design approach is quite important for us. And that's sort of the kind of, to your question on skill set, that certainly drives a new kind of skill set where people need to be very broad in their experience. And then be able to understand kind of the business needs and the problems that the media customers actually having. So that sort of certainly drives a different kind of skill set. And then you look at the solution architect kind of role, again very broad, being very knowledgeable about many different things. You can't just be kind of having a very specific knowledge. That's not enough anymore.
Right. Sure. Great. Well, thanks, Andreas, for your time. Really appreciate it. Obviously, we prefer to see you in Vegas in the heat of late April, but maybe next year, definitely next year, and hopefully later this year too as well. So, be safe, and best of luck to everybody at the Telstra team down in Australia and around the world. And
thank you very much, Ken. Good talking to you. Take care.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.